Hey guys, Marslingan here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and yeah, there are some EZA'S incoming. So, as the title suggests, we have 5 EZA'S coming to Dokkan tonight or tomorrow morning if you're in the UK like me. And yeah, it's going to be pretty good. So, obviously, 4 of them are from an Extreme Z area, so it's only one proper EZA event, which is of course the Bardock. I will be dropping a team building guide for that later on. I usually always drop those about 12 hours before the event's going to come out. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you're subscribed. Click that bell button if you want the notifications, if you do not want to miss that and any other future videos. So we're going to talk about the units and their EZA'S, very briefly go over their details, and then talk about what you can do to be ready for all these units to come out. So first up, we of course have the man himself, LR Bardock. I'm very excited for this. They gave him a very good EZA. From seeing his details on paper and having watched truths like Rainbow Level 10 Link Showcase from, you know, the data download stuff, yeah, he's very strong. I think on paper I would put him above Majin Vegeta and Gohan. He's definitely not on LR Broly levels, but at this point it almost feels like they realized they made a mistake with how powerful they made Broly, and they're just not ever going to make any of the other LRs like EZA's that powerful. Every time a new one's going to come out, the first thing we always say is, you know, is he going to get the LR Broly treatment? But I feel like they're probably never going to do that again. At least that's how the trend seems to be going. So his leader skill went up from 100% to 120, but as I spoke about, like when we were talking about what his EZA could potentially be, I don't think you're ever really going to be running him as a leader, maybe in Battlefield. But the biggest improvement is, of course, the fact that he does raise defense on both of his super attacks. So he greatly raises attack and defense for one turn on his 12 key, colossal damage, and greatly lowers the enemy's defense. That's obviously super good. In harder content, like, say, the GT Legendary Goku event, you could deliberately go for the 12 key super so you can get that big defense raise. And then if you do get an additional on that turn, double greatly raising defense is incredibly powerful, so that's going to be really good for the harder content. And then on the 18 key super, he just raises defense, which is 30%, still good. Does mega colossal and seals. I think he's one of the few units that actually has like a utility effect like sealing on his 18 key and not the 12. So that's going to be really useful for things like Super Battle Road, where you want to go for the 12 key super to do the bigger damage, but then you're also sealing, which is very useful. So his passive skill, attack and defense 100%, so that got a nice little boost. Then he gets an additional attack 20% at the start of each turn, up to 59%. If that had been defense as well, I think that would have improved him insanely. Because his defense, the stats that I've seen from him are already really good, but that would just make him, like, cracked for the longer events. I really wish they'd done that. But he gets an additional 40% attack when performing an Ultra Super, Key plus 6 when facing only one enemy, Key plus 4 and an additional 70% when there are 2 enemies. So again, Super Battle Road, that's going to be really good. An extra 70% defense, 4 extra keys, so you can go for that 18 key and get the seal. Very good. And then he gets an additional 12 key and attack 100% once only, and performs a guaranteed crit when there is an enemy whose name includes Frieza. So in an event where Frieza is the enemy, like for example the Team Bardock Super Battle Road stage, which unfortunately Global doesn't have just yet, the final fight is just against a Frieza. So you imagine this guy coming in on turn 1, even though his full attack passive isn't going to be built up from this part here, he's going to be getting 12 key, so you're pretty much going to guarantee that you're getting the 18 key super, a 100% extra attack boost on top of the fact that you're getting like the extra 40% when doing an ultra super anyway. It's going to be a guaranteed crit, and he's going to seal. So as long as you don't get super attacked like in slot 1, this guy's just going to come in, wreck like what, a third, maybe even half of Frieza's entire health bar. I guess on that team you are running the LR Team Bardock, so you only have a 120 leader skill, but he's going to do a big chunk of damage and seal him, so you're already going to be off to a fantastic start. So I'm really excited to use this guy in game. Obviously you guys know I love Bardock, but I think his EZA is really good. He's got decent links and he's on a lot of good teams like Connected Hopes, Space Traveling Warriors, All Out Struggle. Like, these are some of the teams that you wouldn't necessarily think to run like a Bardock unit on, but he's going to improve all these teams massively. Obviously, like Pure Saiyans and Goku family are pretty stacked with top tier choices, but he's just another nice little addition to those teams as well. So really, really excited to run this guy. I will be streaming his EZA when it comes out, so keep an eye out on the channel. Make sure you're subbed with the bell hit if you want to get the notification for that stream, because that is definitely going to be fun. I feel like his EZA is one I'll probably try and go as high as possible on the stages, because it'll be a good fun. So next up we have the captain of the Ginyu Force himself, Captain Ginyu. I asked the guys on the panel of the most recent 5-9 podcast, do you think they will make this guy the best member of the team, since he is the captain? And I think the answer to that seems to be a pretty resounding yes. So he infinitely stacks attack on super and raises defense for 1 turn, does supreme damage and seals the enemy super attack, so really good. And then his passive skill, attack and defense 170%. Yep. And then ki +3 and an additional attack and defense 100% when facing only 1 enemy. So 270% attack and defense when there's only 1 enemy. That's pretty good. And then he gets 50% extra attack and 50% damage reduction when there are 2 or more enemies, so obviously good for SBR. And then an additional 50% attack and disables enemies' guard when there is another Ginyu Force ally on the team. So now, when it comes to something like Space Traveling Warriors, if you want to run, say, Jace as a support unit, and you need to bring another Ginyu Force member, like Captain Ginyu could quite easily slot into that team. Like, he's very, very solid. They all only require a Ginyu Force ally on the team and not on the rotation. So you could even run this guy as a 3rd slot floating unit. And whilst he isn't supporting the rotation, he's just going to be a very strong unit in slot 3. So he is really, really good. Like the rest of the Ginyu Force, his letdown for using him on other teams is his links, obviously. For most teams that you run him on, you're not going to get any of these links active except for maybe Shattering the Limit, which is unfortunate. But other than that, he's very strong. They probably did that on purpose to make up for it, which is why this number is this high, because his links are not great. But yeah, he's pretty busted. So Ginyu Force, Super Battle Road, obviously global. We're still waiting for the extreme version. This team is just going to absolutely crush that stage with no difficulty now. Like, the no items run on the extreme version is just going to be a joke thanks to these EZAs. So he is very, very strong. If you want to try and get him to SA 15 without having to use Kai's, you can farm up extra copies of the card, but you can't get extra copies of the medals aside from in the barber shop. So unless you get lucky, because I would never recommend refreshing the barber shop with stones, keep checking back in there and you can get the Ginyu Force medals. But remember, there is a mission for the Grand Kai, the special like orbs for the Ginyu Force specific like stage, hidden potential one. There's a mission for beating that stage 20 times, and it gives you 5 of the Grand Kais of each type. So I think I said Grand Kai, I meant Grand Priest, but that event gives you, if you do the stage for the Ginyu Force 20 times, it gives you 5 of each type Kais. I've said this before in a video, but I'm pretty sure they did that on purpose, so you could just use those 5 Kais on each of the Ginyu Force members, because it is pretty annoying to get a second copy up to 5 because of the way you get the medals. So bear that in mind. So next up we have the actual farmable free-to-play unit EZAs. So the Techzarbon and Doria. Space Traveling Warriors is their leader skill, goes up to 77%, and then Tech types 50% as the sub-lead. They do supreme damage to the enemy and lower attack and defense, and their passive is now attack and defense 100%, an additional 10% with each attack performed up to 70, and then an additional 70% attack and defense and seals when there is a ally whose name includes Frieza. So they have to be on rotation 7 times to get their passive fully maxed, and then have a Frieza as well, and then their passive is going to be 240%, which is not that crazy. It sounds like a huge number, but they are a free-to-play unit without like crazy stats. So I'm not sure. This is going to be interesting to see how they are in game, because we tried them out pre-EZA for a video. Check that out if you haven't seen it, but they are super underwhelming. So I really hope that this is the boost that they need. They give Space Traveling Warriors allies 3 ki and attack and defense 30%. So if nothing else, they're good to be used as a Space Traveling Warriors support unit, especially if you're running a lot of Freezers on that Space Traveling Warriors build, because then when they come into that 3rd slot to support, they're also getting the attack and defense buff. But Yeah, other than that, I mean, they get attacks effective against all types when there's a Namek Saga enemy, which is okay for, like, the new event that came out, but other than that, that's probably not going to be active that often. And their links are still a bit wonky. Their biggest issue is the fact that they want to be on the same turn as a Frieza, but they don't share any links with, like, any Friezas, apart from maybe Nightmare and then, like, Shocking Speed, depending on the Frieza. So, pretty awkward. So, it'd be interesting to see how they do actually fare in-game, but I think they're kind of going to be relegated to maybe just being a support unit if you don't have any other options, which is a bit of a shame. Then we have the Vegeta and Krillin. I was looking forward to seeing what their EZA was going to be like, because once they transform or exchange into the Vegeta, obviously he would be a really good link partner for the new LR. So, pre-exchange, we have Planet Namek Saga lead 77%, raises attack infinitely and does supreme damage to the enemy, is the super. Then they get attack and defense 80% and an additional 40 for both when performing a super attack. High chance of evading enemies' attack, so 50%. Then they get an additional 40% defense up to 80 with each attack evaded. So once they've dodged 2 supers, extra 80% defense, very good. Then they have a great chance of stunning the attacked enemy every time the character evaded 4 or more attacks. Wait. Great chance of stunning the attacked enemy every time the character evaded 4 or more attacks when there is another Namek Saga ally on the team. But then they exchange when they've evaded 4 or more attacks. So this, I guess, activates like mid-turn. So if you dodge the 4th attack in like slot 1, then you have a 70% chance to stun when you attack. Because then when you get to the next turn, you're going to exchange anyway. So I had to reread the way that was worded. That seems kind of weird. There's only the odd occasion that's actually going to come into play. But I guess it could be useful for like Super Battle Road. If you dodge like 3 attacks in turn 1, and then you put them in slot 1 on turn 3, as long as they dodge 1 before they attack, they're then going to get a nice chance to stun, and then they'll exchange on the next turn. So the Vegeta was the one I was most interested to see, because his kit was very boring previously. He literally just had attack and defense, and that was basically it. So he recovers some HP, which is nice when you get the exchange. Attack and defense 120, an additional 80% when performing a super, so that goes up to 200%. Then he launches an additional attack that has a medium chance of becoming a super when there is another Namek Saga ally on the team. Survives KO attacks when HP is 30% or more. So interesting that they've given him this. I guess the way they want you to use this is if you had him as a 3rd slot floating unit on the same team as the new LR Vegeta, if you're in the final spot and he's only taking 1 attack, he would survive, and then you go into the next turn on 1 HP, and then you can get the revival exchange with the LR. But remember, this mechanic is wonky, because if he's getting attacked like 3 times, and the first attack is a super, you'll survive it with 1 HP, and then he gets hit again and you die. So it's interesting that they gave him that, but yeah, a bit strange. And he does infinitely stack attack and defense on super as well. So the fact that he has a chance to do an additional super is very good. So with, obviously, he's a free-to-play unit, you can rainbow him, give him a decent amount of additional. So if he triple supers, then he's going to build up his stats very quickly. So I think he could be interesting. I do think the last part of his passive is kind of useless, but it might come in clutch maybe once or twice. But his Vegeta version definitely seems way better. So this guy seems way more worth running now compared to pre-EZA is garbage, but actually seems pretty good post-EZA. Definitely seems better than Techzarbon and Doria. And then last but not least, we have this Goku. So he was really trash, like unrunnable before his EZA pretty much. So now he has a Turtle School Leader skill, which is cool. Supreme damage to the enemy, raises attack and defense by 30% for 3 turns, so you can get a couple of stacks of that. That's pretty good. Then attack and defense 120, raises attack and defense by up to 120. The less HP remaining, the greater the boost. So obviously on a full HP turn, you're basically going to get no buff at all. But when you're close to being dead, that's going to be a pretty huge buff. Then he gets an additional 20% attack and defense at the start of each turn, up to 60. So that all adds up as well. And then he fully recovers HP when HP is 30% or less. So this could be really useful, especially playing off that previous Vegeta Survive KO thing. If you come into a new turn and you're like super low HP, like 10% or less, let's say, you're going to get a full heal off of this guy for free, but this part of his passive activates at the start of the turn. So if this part was already fully built up as well, you could be looking at having like close to 300% attack and defense for this guy and a full heal. So that seems like it could be kind of useful, but obviously because you usually want to stay on as much like HP as possible, you're not going to see as much of this buff very often. So the free heal could be kind of useful. I just think sadly for this guy, there's a lot of better options on the teams that he's on. But for free-to-play units, he definitely could be a solid option, especially for like EZA'S and stuff with the fully recovering HP. So not too shabby. Obviously these three guys, if you want to be fully ready, make sure you go into their story events, farm up 5 extra copies of the card to get one to SA5, and then farm up the medals to awaken them. You don't need to train them or anything like that. You can literally have them awakened to this TUR version at level 1 SA5. And then once you've EZA'd your main rainbow one, you just feed them in and then boom, SA15 for all 3 of these guys. Like we said, unfortunately, can't really do this for Ginyu unless you're able to get his medals out of the barbershop. And then obviously LRs, you know, you are just going to have to use Kai's. But you will get them from the EZA event. So there we go. A lot of EZAs coming. A lot of stuff going to be very fun to try out these units. Obviously stay tuned. We will be doing showcases for all of them. Trying them out in the different modes and whatnot. So make sure you stick around for all of that. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you are new so you don't miss any of that stuff. And yeah, that is going to be it for the video. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.